Mary Neal was on the show once, and she said that she was kind of a nominal Christian before her experience, and she went from hope to trust.
Well, how can you not trust when you've been there?
Yeah.
You're going to, I mean, it's such a profound experience. It's profound. And I went across a non believer. I came back like, wow.
Joan Ruddell has had a fascinating life. It started with a near death experience when she was 19. That changed her perspective about the afterlife and about her life here. Fast forward a few decades, and Joan, a former medical researcher, now helps other people find a path to true health. She combines her extensive medical knowledge with practical steps to healing. We touch on everything from organics to functional medicine and more. For my subscribers, the second part of this podcast goes into depth on Joan's near death experience, the details of it, and the paradigm change it created for her life. Outside the podcast, Joan said to me that anyone who has any doubts about what lies beyond this life can just call her, but you might want to listen to the podcast first. Joan, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us your story.
Hi, Pat. My name's Joan Ruddell. I'm a retired clinical lab scientist of 44 years. I spent 44 years working in the medical lab field, and I was very fortunate to do that. My story starts when I was 19 years of age. I was in a very serious car accident. We hit a telephone pole at 11 o'clock at night or thereabouts, and taken to hospital. My doctor told me my eyes had coned completely. He told my parents I would never survive this. What actually happened to me, well, I didn't know I was in the hospital. I can remember being put in an ambulance, but I was taken to the other side of our life. And that changed my whole life. It absolutely changed every place I was at. I was in medical training at the time. I was learning about all the diseases that humans were struck with. I had been brought up a very, very staunch Christian. I fully believed in God, and my faith was shaken right to the core because I thought, how could there be an all-loving, all-caring God that was giving us all these diseases? It was just terrifying for me. I was young. I hadn't had any real life experiences. I had no way of coping with it. I couldn't talk to my parents about it because they were so staunchly Christian. I didn't know where I was going with this. I didn't believe when I was in the accident, I didn't believe there was a God. That's where I was at. But this angel came to me. I fell down this dark hole. What happens when I died, I went down this very, very dark hole. It was like I was falling into a black pit, like falling through a cold, cold, dark, dark well. And I couldn't breathe. And I got to the other side and I saw this light, and I was brought up to this light. And two angels took me at my side, one on either side, and one was a very strong male angel. And he talked to me as he says, I'm going to take you to a place. And he told me that I was going to love where I was going. And actually, it was a rainy, dark night in Vancouver where this happened. But when I was taken across, which I call across, to the other side, I was taken over the prairies. And it was a warm, hot summer day. And the trees below me, I was above them, were glistening. The leaves were glistening in a silver, and that green silver that you see on a day on the prairie deciduous trees on the leaves. And it was just beautiful. And I was brought to the other side, and there was my aunt, who was just buried a few weeks before, but she was buried in a maroon suit, but she was standing there in a white long gown, and she had a certain light behind her. And she talked to me for quite a while. I said, and she had this beautiful light behind her, and I keep wanting to go to the light. And she said to me, you can't stay here, Joan. It was the most beautiful, peaceful feeling I'd ever had in my life. Total, total bliss. That's all I can describe it as. Not a care in the world, not one care in the world, no thought of who I was leaving behind, nothing. It was just full of joy. And then she told me I had to go back. And I said, why? I don't want to go back. And she said, because your mother needs you. At that point, the male angel, the strong angels, came back and he said, I need to take you back now. And I was shooshed back very, very quickly. And when I looked, I was in my hospital bed and I looked to the side and there was my mom. She was sitting there. She was a little, little mom. And she would pretend to smoke. In those years, you could smoke in the hospital. And she'd take a little puff and she'd just blow it out. She'd never inhale, but you could tell she was very stressed. And I looked at Mom and I thought, I can't tell Mom that I just talked to Auntie Madge, who just died. That's going to scare my mom. So I just said, hi, Mom. And she looked at me and she said, oh, and she ran out. She ran down to the nurse's station and she could hear her yelling all the way down the hallway. She's awake. She's awake, because they were told I would never come out of the space I was at. So I was very lucky with that. I stayed in the hospital for a week. And then it was a bit of a struggle to get back my strength. I was extremely weak. And but I did continue my medical studies. My professors were very lenient with me because my marks had been good up to that time. And so I was able to skip my spring break exams, and they just rated me on what I'd already provided for them in class. And I moved on with my medical lab training and was very successful in that career. And I learned a lot about conventional medicine. I was specialized in clinical chemistry, and that particular area of science is where 85% of diagnoses are done. So what I noticed when I was working in the labs in all those years, and I headed the labs, and I actually was given the Canadian Woman of Distinction Award for my work in medical labs, which was a surprise to me, quite an honor. I could see that when I was checking out all the reports for the doctors to review, and when I'd review them with the doctors, that everything that 95 or 75% of those diagnoses were all related to diseases that were preventable. And we're faced with the exact same things right now. 75% of the diseases that people die with worldwide are preventable. They're all lifestyle related. I shouldn't say so much lifestyle, but what we take into our lives, the toxins in the air, in our water, our food, the medications we take, all that sort of stuff, how we treat our bodies, how we don't exercise them, how we don't get proper sleep. So I myself was brain injured in this accident, and I had to have a series of brain scans over the decades. And every time I had a brain scan, it showed amyloid plaques in my brain. And I was always warned that I was at high risk of Alzheimer's, developing Alzheimer's. So fast forward I guess it was 40 years, I was in another car accident. I didn't go to the other side at that point, but my neck was broken. The impact was so great. I had to have 2 hip replacements. I just suffered migraine headaches every day, and it was very difficult. And of course, the doctors were trying to help me with everything. I had to go on long-term disability from the hospital lab I was working at. I had been widowed at this point, and I was still young. I wasn't financially prepared to stop working, and was put on. I had to go down to part-time work, and then they put me on disability at 75% of my 3-day-a-week job, and it was very difficult. But I had no choice. I collapsed in the lab one day, and that was it. And so anyway, I had to teach myself how to fend for myself at that point. I taught myself how to invest in the stock market because I could do that at home, and my brain was still pretty clear thinking for mathematics and that sort of thing. So I was able to function that way. But in the long run, my conventional medicine failed me. They put me on every nerve pain drug known to man, and nothing was helping me. And one day I lost my way on the way to the store, which was only 4 blocks away. I didn't know where I was on the road. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know why I was there. I had no idea where I was. It was terrible. So when I actually came around, I turned my car back home and I got into bed and I cried. I sobbed and I prayed so hard because after this experience I had going to the other side, nothing in this world, nothing can shake my faith in the fact there is a heaven. There absolutely is. I can, absolutely. So nothing could shake my faith at that point, of course. And I prayed hard and I sobbed out loud and prayed to God, please. I know there has to be something. You have to. You said in the Bible that you've given us um, cures in nature. And I thought about it and I thought we were taught in medical school, never to go to nature for any cures or solutions and for health issues because they were harmful. They couldn't be regulated. Uh, we didn't know what was going to happen to us if we took all those medications that centuries have taught us worked. So I turned my research skills to looking at nature-based solutions, and I found a solution for my problem. And I've never looked back. And now I have switched from conventional lab medicine, and I'm now a holistic functional medicine practitioner, and I help my patients along those lines on natural remedies that have been proven over the years, and they do work.
Wow, what a story. My gosh. I don't even know where to begin. Let's talk a little bit about the holistic medicine part of it because I I personally am on the same page as you are. What are
Mhm.
some of the remedies that you found that helped you?
Well, my remedies are very science backed because that's my training. So I was looking at the pathways in cells because that's where it all begins. So when your cells are healthy, you're healthy.
Mhm.
It does, if you've got healthy lungs, you've got healthy liver, you've got healthy heart cells, healthy immune cells, healthy gut cells. That it just all works at the cellular level. That's a basis that I learned in conventional medicine. So that I was able to take all that training with me and bring it to the holistic side. And then because of my medical lab training, I can actually prove to my clients that we can start with the cleaning out our natural pathways, our cellular pathways, and see real results in our lab tests and our health and how we feel, our energy, our clear mind, our liver function, our blood pressure that drops permanently and to a good level, all that sort of stuff. So the healing, actually, one of the new things I just realized that science has proven to me that nature is a solution for health, solution for remedies. So, and I've proven it myself in my body.
When you start looking for the root cause as opposed to trying to mask the symptoms,
Hmm.
now you're really talking about health.
Yes, absolutely. The pharmaceutical company has done some wonderful things. I know that without some of the pharmaceuticals we have, a lot of people wouldn't be alive these days. Not a lot of people, but children with cancer and all those sorts
Mhm.
of and things that have helped as we moved along in our lives. Pharmaceuticals are chemicals, and our bodies don't work that well with chemicals. I mean, we know that when with the air we breathe, all the toxins we breathe in, they're chemicals and they harm us. Some medicines, we don't have a medicine that heals us. We don't have a pharmaceutical that actually heals. We have one that takes care of the symptoms we're feeling, but oftentimes they have what we know as side effects.
Yeah.
And so we help one issue, but then we dealt a whole deck of cards sometimes with other issues. So it's a very difficult thing. Um, I know that there's some pharmaceutical companies very responsible that are looking at what I looked at in nature, and they're trying to replicate that now. They're trying to replicate the pathways that nature's already provided for us so that they can get their message out to many more people. We can't get our messages out very clearly because, um, well, it's not a political issue, it's actually a medical issue. It boils down to where the FDA doesn't regulate natural products. They they were
Yeah.
taught the same things we were taught when we were in medical school, so they don't do that. Mhm.
What about cancer and a more holistic approach to it? I mean, cancer is a very complex set of diseases. Are what have you found in your travels vis-a-vis cancer?
Cancer, cancer starts at the cellular level. They're now finding that cancer isn't starting at the genetic level. It's caused in a very large amount by the toxins. There's 88,000 chemical toxins have been created since the Industrial Revolution, and our bodies are being assaulted with them with every breath we take, with the food we eat, ultra processed food, even the food that's grown nowadays. The soil isn't as
Yeah.
enriched as it used to be, so we're not getting the nourishment for ourselves that we need to. Clean water. There's a very big issue. How to get clean water. I've been in cities where you open the tap and to get a glass of water and it tastes like the bottle of bleach in my laundry room. It's
Mm,
very, very harmful to us. So paying attention to those details and making sure we get the purest food we can. And there's issues now because, affordability and can I find organic food? And is it really organic? Now we're going to come a long way in the human race of defining organic food and regulating it and that sort of thing. So I would choose organic over I choose conventionally grown vegetables and meat any time of the day or night. That just, I mean, I'm almost 80 years old. I'm very close to my 80th birthday, so I can attest to what I do. And my doctors say you got the labs of a 20-year-old. I just smile. I said, "Do you want to know why?" So,
actually, I think the food we choose has a huge impact on us. Many years ago, David Servan Schreiber, who was an MD, PhD, wrote a book called Anti-Cancer: A New Way of Life. And
mhm,
just briefly, what happened to him? He was a brain researcher at the University of Pittsburgh, and one of his subjects didn't show up one night. So he went through the scanner and found out that he had a brain tumor. He dealt with it, went through surgery, radiation, lost a year of his life. His marriage fell apart. At the end of the year, he said to his oncologist, "What do I do?" And the oncologist said, "Go back to your life." So he went back to the fast paced, stressful life as an academic researcher, eating junk food, living on Coca Cola, and his brain tumor comes back. This time he goes on a worldwide quest with the question of what creates anti cancer living. It's a
mhm,
phenomenal book. The footnotes alone are worth reading. It was first published in 2008 and I think updated in 2012, but I really recommend the book to everybody. But one of the things, to go back to your point about clean food, he pointed out a study where children were fed an organic diet and they did a urinalysis before and after. Before, it was full of all sorts of pesticides. Afterwards, those levels had dropped enormously.
mhm.
That's right there, is it's so clean cut, and it's just terrifying.
There's so many physicians and people like me were on the warpath about the quality of food from food producers. You
Mhm.
know, ultra processed food. They're full of toxins, full of carcinogenics. I mean, I'm on a campaign right now to put a yellow down the center aisles, put a yellow caution tape all around that in the grocery store and say, enter at your own risk, contains chemicals known to harm and cause disease and death. I mean, seriously, that's how bad it is. And I mean, there's doctors that have proven that long time feeding your children those, I don't know, breakfast cookies, cereal, stuff like that, full of toxins, colors, carcinogenic colors, food colorings. They're now proving that those children are getting cancer and um, chronic illness much sooner in life, and we're seeing it now. We're seeing it in all the data. The number of younger people that are getting cancer and
Yeah.
dying quickly. They're calling it turbo cancer. Let's be very careful about what we choose at the grocery store. Shop the outer aisles. Get to the organic bins right away. It's up to the individual if they want to eat meat or fish. Or I like the Mediterranean diet personally. That's one I use. But other people want to be vegetarian. I think that's a approach. There's lots of I do vegetarian 3 meals 3 days a week. I mean, I switch it up because that's what works for me. But when I choose meat, I always choose the organic, and I try to stay away from red meat as much as possible. Now, there's a big school of thought out there that says that red meat's good for you. Probably it is. I try to get a serving in every now and again, but I always make sure it's organically raised without any antibiotics and chemicals in the meat.
What's the advantage of meat raised in that fashion versus the traditional meat that we see in the supermarket?
Well, if you want to analyze what's in the children's urines, look for hormones.
Yeah.
You can see young boys at 8 and 10 years of age growing mustaches now, suffering with obesity. Childhood obesity is
Oh,
just rampant, and it's from the hormones in our food. Chicken is full of hormones. Buy the organic stuff. Buy the birds that weren't raised on hormones. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but cut your portions down if you have to, or go straight to lentils. There's beautiful lentil recipes that are full of, you want to make sure you get enough protein. So lentils is a good way to get it. And dried green peas and stuff like that for vegetarian green pea soup. I mean, now we have the internet, and start experimenting. Find the foods that your family loves and try and really take your time. Don't poison your kids with those breakfast bars and cereals and chicken that doesn't say raised without hormones. You know, it's really important. It's do you know that it's really interesting? The manufacturers of the GLP-1 shots, they're trying to get shots for children aged 6 and up suffering with obesity. Now, do we have to do that to our children to control what's going into their bodies when it all starts at home? Kids don't have the money to go to the grocery store and buy, organic lettuce or food that's good for them. It's not the kids that are picking those foods off the shelves. So let's get clear on this. Let's not buy food that is harming our children. That's really important. That's my bandwagon.
well, and learn to read labels. I, for one, will not put anything in my body if I don't know what the ingredient is. I stay away from all those sorts of additives and things.
If
And
it's
I
not in
remember,
a bottle or a jar in your fridge or your cupboard, don't buy it if that additive isn't in there. Or if you can't pronounce it, don't buy it.
yeah, I totally agree. I remember, and just because it says organic, read the label. I remember one day slurping down a cup of my favorite tomato, red pepper tomato soup,
Mhm,
organic, right across the soup cover and everything. And I started reading the ingredients. And the
mhm.
second greatest ingredient, or maybe it was even the first, was sugar.
Sugar.
And I never bought it again because I try very hard to keep sugar out of my diet.
That is a very good approach to life, Pat. Keeping sugar out of your diet is really important, and it's really difficult. Very
Yeah, it is.
difficult. You read the labels on all the things you buy that aren't, well, if you buy a head of lettuce, you're pretty good with that if it's organic. But you go to those center aisles where they have all the canned food and the jarred food and all that sort of stuff. Read the labels. You'll be surprised. Sugar's either first, second, or third ingredient.
Yeah.
And what that means, if they list it first, that's the most prevalent ingredient in that can of whatever it is, or that jar of spaghetti sauce or whatever it is. So, and the food industry is, yeah, it uses sugar. We know that it uses sugar to addict you. What it does actually, it feeds your unhealthy microbiome in your gut, and then your unhealthy microbiome feeds on themselves on sugar, not on fiber like we should be doing. Fiber from vegetables, so it's taking the sugar, it's multiplying like mad, and then when it doesn't have enough sugar, it does that um, mind gut brain access screaming to your brain, feed me sugar. So that's where sugar addiction gets us, because our brain is telling us to eat sugar because our microbiome, which is they call it our second brain. I almost think it's our first brain. It's directing traffic, what's going into your mouth, and you have these cravings, and it's so strong. So first of all, if you're trying to get off sugar, it's going to take 2 weeks. Know this: 2 weeks. Line up with some good water, some good organic food, some good probiotics, good prebiotics, which are all fiber. Um, Green bananas, slightly green bananas, great prebiotic. Those are the things that feed your good bacteria. You want to change your microbiome, those bacteria in your gut that support your good health. That's very key to your new pathways that you're creating for yourself. Change your microbiome back to health. Feed your microbiome with lots of fiber that you get from, say, lentil soup or eating your salad every day, and lots of vegetables. And stay away from sugar so that you stop feeding those bad bacteria in your gut, and that sugar addiction's gone. But it does take 2 weeks. And if you're taking your kids off of sugar, be prepared, because they will have fallout from not getting that sugar fix from in their brain and their mood. It'll change. But get a good pediatric micro or probiotic from your doctor, or your pharmacist can advise you on that. How to get over it.
And it's not just sugar. I mean, it's high fructose syrup. There
Oh,
are so many things in these prepared foods that really are just horrible for our bodies.
And they all feed, all that sort of stuff feeds your bad microbiome.
Yeah.
So and that's where you get the screaming in your brain. I need to eat sugar. I need a sugar fix. So, and then you don't start changing that up, you're faced with some pretty serious diseases like insulin um, overload, inability to take glucose that you do eat in good food, from fruit or whatever, into your cells for energy. You get insulin resistance right at the cellular level. The outside of your cell has receptors for insulin. You destroy those insulin receptors. You can't get insulin into your cells to utilize that glucose. The glucose stays in your bloodstream. Guess what happens? A1C goes up, blood glucose goes up, insulin goes up. It's a vicious cycle. And then you get diabetes. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible disease. You don't want that. You want to do everything you can to manage your diabetes if you have it. Follow the instructions to the letter from your dietitians, your physicians, and your holistic practitioners, and manage that blood glucose. You can heal yourself if you have type 2 diabetes. I've healed many of my clients from that. But there are protocols you have to follow. If you're not willing to be well, then that's your outcome. You have to have the will.
It involves change, and change is so hard for many people. One of the things I've often said to many people to get more vegetables in their diet is every week, just try one new vegetable. Make it 2 or
Mhm.
3 times, and if you don't like it, you never have to have it again. But in 6 months, that's 26 new things that you're trying. If you keep half of them, your diet has changed substantially.
And you would be surprised how fast your genes change with what you put in your mouth. It's almost instant. This isn't, like, you can really help yourself by putting good things into your body quickly. Doesn't happen. It's not a miracle overnight cure, but your genes respond to what you're putting into your body. They respond in a good way or in a bad way. They either up regulate yourself to health, or they down regulate your health to disease. And 75% of the diseases these days are due to chronic inflammation caused by our lifestyle.
And chronic inflammation goes back to choosing beef particularly, but other foods as well, that are not organic or grass-fed, because you're looking at a heavy omega-6 balance versus omega-3. Or do I have that backwards?
You want omega-3s. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, so the omega-3s are very important for cardiac function and for brain function.
Mhm.
Your brain is mostly full of fat, and you want good fats in there. So omega-3s, it's very important to have those. Fish, wild caught fish. I personally stay away from farm salmon and all that kind of stuff. I won't eat farm because they feed them hormones.
Yeah.
You have to look at the source of your animal if you're choosing to eat animal. And same as your eggs. Just be very cognizant. Do a little research. We've got Dr. Google now. Most of us have one of these. Just search it up. Best sources for omega-3s. How much do I need a day? It's hard to, a lot of people don't have healthcare these days or have a hard time getting into physicians. I know we do in Canada here. We have to go to treatment centers. I mean, thank God we have those. They're very good. But to get a doctor in Canada, it can be
Oh, it can take
difficult.
months here in the States. I mean, the waits are
Mhm.
terrible.
Yeah, it's the same thing in here. So that's why it's really good to, well, sign up with somebody that can give you some help. That's just and some good health. I mean, doctors are very good for referring you to specialists for surgery, for immediate. If you're facing sepsis, get that antibiotic,
Absolutely.
that sort of thing. I mean, life-saving efforts. Thank you, doctors. But the rest of it's up to us. It's lifestyle related, and we can change our health by changing what we take into our bodies, whether it's through the air or the water or the food we eat. And exercise is big. If you just take a 30-minute walk a day, if you can't find 30 minutes a day, take 10 minutes at a time. Walk 3 times a day really briskly for 10 minutes, even around your desk. It's your body, we're made to move. And moving is one of the keys to healthy longevity, a long, strong longevity.
What about functional and naturopathic doctors? Do they offer a different approach to health?
They offer a different approach, and I'm one of my plans now is to, because I'm so studied in conventional lab medicine, and I look at what the functional medicine physicians are offering in terms of lab tests. There is a difference, and I'd like to integrate that a little bit more because sometimes they'll get a lab result and they can't explain it. That's where I would come in and I can explain that to them. So I really want to help functional lab people, lab medicine or lab functional practitioners to take another look at the value of conventional lab medicine because that's where the diagnosis of disease starts. 85% of diseases are diagnosed in the lab using conventional medicine. You can also look at what's happening in holistic medicine in your whole system, which I love. I mean, you can see a lot of things in holistic medicine lab practice as well. So I think a little bit of an integration would be of value for the best outcomes for the clients or patients. That's what I'm interested in. Only best outcomes. Let's work together and see how we can really get there, help them get there. That's my deal.
Yeah, no, on a practical level, it's so difficult. You have to try, it's trial and error. You have to try to find people. You have to see what makes sense to you or resonates with you vis-a-vis your health. It takes a lot of time to do it and certainly a lot of effort. Creating a network of professionals that are really interested in health is not what our systems do. It's utterly up to us to create that network.
I think if you focus in on a naturopath,
Hmm.
focus in on a functional medicine practitioner, you can see make sure they're credentialed,
Yeah.
find out from others, what do others say about them, and if it's ringing a bell for you, that's a good approach. It's a good start. They'll start you on the right path for prevention for sure. Once you get to where you need therapeutic intervention, um, they're more than willing to refer you to those therapeutic people that say your doctors that need to intervene with surgery and all that stuff. But they'll do all they can in the meantime to get you to health. And their approach is longer. You're not put in that 7 minute meet up with your doctor where you can only talk about one thing. when your whole body's falling apart and you don't know what's going on and you need help. They don't have the time. I mean, they have to set their timers, and it doesn't often work. When you work with a functional medicine practitioner, you have the time with that person. They truly care about, not that the doctors don't care, but they don't have the time. The functional medicine practitioners set aside time to work
Yeah.
with you and set you on a program and meet with you, even if it's on Zoom. I meet with my clients on Zoom, and I want them to go and have another lab test. This is what I want you to have. Go into, there's, in the States you can go into like a Quest lab or something local and order your own lab tests. And then let's have a look at that. Let's just take one or two markers showing you where you're at with your chronic inflammation. Let's look at those inflammatory markers. I can tell from hemoglobin A1C, ferritin, and CRP where you're going with your plan, what needs to be tweaked. I can see if you're following it or not. Labs don't lie. and so that if that's the case, then I know that there's more going on with that, my client, than just trying to get better. Just let's see what's at the root of that. What's holding you up? What's going on with your family? Are you not, do you have the time to do what you need to do for yourself? And let's look at that. Look at the whole picture here.
I want to go back to the beginning of your story with a near-death experience. How has that influenced the rest of your life?
I can't even describe the enormity of that experience.
For my subscribers, the second part of this podcast is about Joan's near-death experience and how it changed her life. Not a subscriber? Subscribe. Subscribe at bumpintheroad.substack.com.